the best networkers are staying in contact without ever expecting anything in return.
One of the things that I reflect on now is that it all comes from relationship. And I think you're an example of someone that built those muscles in time, and then now you're able to utilize it to help others.
When you're at a big company and you're very successful, you're often a victim of your own success because you're hyper-focused on solving the problems of your existing company. But when you leave that company, you don't realize how powerful your network is.
Yeah.
Don't let those relationships atrophy.
Sometimes we forget that sometimes the greatest solutions come from the bottom up.
It's easy to fall in love with technology. There's a human side on the other piece of the equation, right? So as you're trying to roll out these technologies, are these companies really ready for them?
And how are you preparing the next generation for this, especially in your children?
You know, AI is an incredible tool. Use it as an extension where you can bring your own judgment, morality, and ethics to the bear.
That is cool. Welcome back to the Future Human Experience. I'm your host, Eric Rodriguez. I am so excited with our guest today, Rene Torres. Bienvenido. Welcome, Rene, to the Future Human Experience podcast.
Thank you, Eric. It's wonderful to be here. It's great to see you again.
Yes. So we have a common background working in the tech sector for some time. I saw your growth as an executive as well in the tech sector, but most recently you've transitioned into a brand new space on using those skill sets as an executive in sales in the technology area, now advising the next and up and coming companies. Tell us a little bit more about your journey in the tech sector, but more importantly, the exciting things that you're doing today in the space.
Sure. No, thanks. It's a great question. So, for me, having worked at Intel for over 20 years, and I recently realized I had a great opportunity last fall to really kind of do a pivot, do something different.
Yeah.
So I took the chance to take a leave, and as part of that, as part of leaving Intel, um, when you're at a big company, a lot of the time you're not allowed to go join on the board of multiple companies, right? There's restrictions, and I've heard this through so many other peers in the tech sector, and so I saw a window to actually get involved with a number of different companies in, everything from generative AI to robotics as a service to telecom sector. And so I found myself, excited to get involved in multiple companies as an advisor, not necessarily as something that is what I'm going to do for my career going forward, but kind of laying the tracks for something for the future. Right. So, and something I would encourage execs to think about too, because a lot of them are going to have the same challenge,
Yeah.
is you're going to have a window to be able to advise all these companies and kind of figure out what you want to do next.
Yeah.
It's an amazing opportunity. Don't rush it.
Yes. Yeah. But with that said, Renee, too, I mean, our audience comes from all different walks of life, all different areas in their careers. What are you seeing now in this space as far as advising small companies, but also having those muscles that you've built in big corporations? Either what are some of the key differences, or more importantly, what gets you excited about what people are building today on what the future could bring?
It's a great question. I get excited being able to help to unlock huge pieces of their puzzle at an early stage. So, what I find is that's universal is all the companies I'm advising are coming in with huge passion, grit, determination. They've got all the foundation to go and chase this dream that they've got, right? Whether it's in the AI space, robotic space, or telco space. What typically stands in their way is they need help on experience and industry connections, right? They need someone to open some doors for them. And what I find that is super rewarding is being able to be there to help with that.
Yeah.
And it's not about the compensation. It's not about the opportunities with them for the future. For me, I get excited to be able to open a big door for them. It could be funding. It could be an industry partnership. It could be helping them with a customer.
Yeah.
But being able to do that and seeing the impact on the business is hugely rewarding.
Yeah. And Renee, I think you bring up a great point on the opportunities to open doors for others. One of the things that I reflect on now, on the opportunities that we have now in the work that we get to do, and being those folks that either present doors or introduce folks to different companies or different organizations, is that it all comes from relationships.
Yes.
And those relationships take time,
Yes.
right? And so you've built that muscle, you've put in the time, you've been to all these conferences, you've been all over the world, right? These aren't just relationships that Rene built yesterday
Yes.
on LinkedIn. You have built personal relationships with folks. And I think sometimes if you're listening to this podcast today and you're like, man, it's gonna, it's hard to build relationships. Yes, exactly. That's what makes them very rewarding.
Yes.
And I think today, even when I have an opportunity to speak to young professionals or folks that are in big corporations and they're like, Eric, my company's not, supporting me to go to this conference or
Yeah.
paying me to go to this conference. I'm like,
Yeah.
then figure out a way to pay yourself. Go there. If it's locally, if you could just, literally drive to the car, ask for a day off. If you have the funds to do it, please, it's an investment in yourself.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we forget that too, is that we just think about, okay, the company's the one that's going to give me these doors to open. Well, again, people like yourself, people like myself, we were connected to customers, so we had an opportunity to go to all these places. But if you don't and you want to go and build that muscle, it is possible. It is
Yeah.
absolutely possible. And I think you're an example of someone that built those muscles in time, and then now you're able to utilize it to help others.
Yes.
And I think at the end of the day, if you have an opportunity to help others in this 21st century, you will always have doors open up for you, which it seems like is happening right now in the startup sector as well.
You nailed it. You nailed it. If there's one single piece of advice that I could give to execs or aspiring execs is, if I could go back in time,
Yeah.
it's funny, my wife likes to tease me
Yeah.
about this. When you're at a big company and you're very successful, you're often a victim of your own success because you're hyper focused on solving the problems of your existing company. And you should be,
Yeah.
right? That's what
Yeah.
you're there for. However, with the life balance, you've got family activities, you've got things. It's very easy to go and say, I'm not going to go to that conference. I'm taking a break. I've worked hard this week. And that's all of us, right?
Yeah.
And that's
Absolutely.
completely understandable. Um, but when you leave that company, you don't realize how powerful your network is.
Yeah.
And you've built up a currency, a network, a set of relationships that is incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
And so what I have been excited to see is being able to put that to work for a number of different
Yeah.
companies. Again, it could be in the generative AI space, it could be in robotics space. For me, it's exciting to be able to go and call up those folks, send them a note,
Yeah.
be able to get that meeting going to open up, either help them raise around for a Series A or just in general
Yeah.
getting going on market traction. And you just don't realize what a bubble you can be in if you let yourself be in that bubble.
Yeah. Renee, let's tap on that a little bit more. So you talk about the relationships that you've built. What are some of those key insights? That, of course, yes, having a big corporation on your business card helps. I agree.
Yeah.
But there's thousands of people that have that business card.
Mhm.
But I think you stand out. I think that's what's kept our relationship going as well, is that we are very personable people.
Yeah.
What are some of those skill sets that you have built over time in being a sales executive that have made sure that you stay connected with those relationships, regardless of what companies
Yeah.
they're in or you're in?
Yeah, you hit the key there. Don't let those relationships atrophy. Sometimes it's funny, especially when you're exiting a big company, it really makes you realize, wow, I should have sent more notes while I had the chance. No, it's never too late. But I'm telling you, the key is to success is really keep those relationships that matter to you in the sectors that you're participating in.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you're ever expecting something
Sure. Absolutely.
but you never know because it may be something where you're able to help them out. They may be able to help you out. If anything, what I have, taken away is that, when I'm looking at LinkedIn or I'm kind of watching what's going on in the market, I am now very focused on like 10, 15 different topics at a time of, hey, I'm really fascinated on
Yeah.
what's going on over here in the energy space. Oh, let's see what's happening over here in
Yeah.
retail. And part of that is because I was responsible for driving industry sales for Intel, right? So as you know, I started industrial, was in telco, I covered retail, I covered financial services. So I was very blessed in thinking from an industry lens. And one of the cool things about that is that you see the horizontal opportunities across all those industries, and that actually keeps you really excited to
Yeah.
keep up with what's going on in the
Yeah.
markets.
Yeah. And then Renee, what type of I'll share this with you. One of the things someone asked me one day is like, Eric, how do you stay in touch with folks, or how do you stay in touch with different individuals? And and what I try to do is that I just try to stay in touch with them in their personal things, right? Of course, there's a work part of it. There's absolutely every announcement that, hey, there's something that comes up. Hey, congratulations. but these are things as something as simple as like Argentina playing Ecuador.
It is.
And I know some Argentina fans, and I just check in. I'm like, "Hey guys, are you guys watching the game tonight?" Or "Hey, great goal," or something as simple as that goes a long way,
It
right? Because
does.
sometimes just people are like, "Oh, hey, Eric, man, I see you back in my feed," or what have you. Like, thanks for checking in. Um, or something as simple as, I mean, I'm not very good with birthdays. I'll be very transparent with everyone. I'm horrible. My wife ends up telling me a day or two after, "Hey, did you check in with your uncle?"
Yes.
Oh my God, my uncle, I forgot his birthday.
Yes.
I think I just remember my wife's and my parents' birthday, my brother's, and and my children.
Yes.
It's hard for me to do the rest. So I apologize, Renee, if I haven't checked in on your birthday.
Yeah, no, for
But
sure.
those are the small little things, right? That or you see an article that seems
Yes.
really interesting and you check in. Oh man, I think Renee would love
Yes.
this because I know he loves robotics. Here you go, buddy. And you don't need to respond. That's not what I'm expecting.
Yes.
It's just about checking in. And I think sometimes those things go a long way. And I'm sure you've done that more than a dozen times with folks. But again, in the spirit of not expecting something in return,
That's the key.
just being of service.
That's the
Yeah.
key. That's the key. The best networkers are staying in contact without ever expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not that you're looking for something. You're going to get something you're surprised about
Yeah.
later on, where you're staying in touch with these folks. You might just learn something
Yeah.
that you didn't realize. But yeah, it's funny you say that. I was just talking with another exec on a call with one of the startups,
Yeah.
and it was all about Joe Burrow's getting injured here, right?
Yeah.
For the Ford Bengals, and now they got Flacco. But you know what?
Just did great.
Yeah, he did good. He did good, right? They're off to a good start. But you know, I've got an interesting topic like that in every one of my
Yes.
conversations.
Perfect.
Another one, kid sports. My kids play sports. A lot of people's kids play sports, or they're into music.
Yeah.
There's so many different things. And I
Yes.
love that you're bringing up the human side because too often we love to just go dive straight on the business. The best relationships are when you're going to talk about personal stuff.
Absolutely. And I remember being on sales calls with you or with customers. And I remember we have an hour meeting and the first 10, 15 minutes are all about personal.
Yes.
And I remember folks that were not used to that. They're like,
Yes.
Eric, what is Renee doing here? What's going on? Like, aren't we supposed to be like, we have these talking points and I'm like,
Yes.
this is part of the business.
Yes.
Like
It is.
it's a personal relationship that will accelerate the business conversation.
It
But if
is.
you don't have these personal conversations, the business conversation will not feel one organic, natural, or productive.
It is. It is. You gotta build that rapport. And again, I love the theme that you're hitting on. You gotta network with expecting nothing in return.
Yeah.
That's the way it works
Yeah.
because you'd be amazed at how doors get unlocked for you that way.
Yeah, it reminds me, Renee, we have a common friend, Sandra Lopez.
Yes.
So I spoke to Sandra
Oh,
maybe
great.
2 months after I left Intel. And I was starting this business. I was starting the speaking, the consulting, the podcast. And she was checking in. She said, Eric, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, Sandra, I'm overwhelmed. Yeah. And she said, why are you overwhelmed? I said, look, everyone's been extremely generous with how can I help? What do you need? What's going on?
Yes.
Do you need a connection here? How can I help you here? And I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And Sandra told me, it's like, you have to be open to other people's generosity because for all these years, you have been giving to your network
Yes.
and you never ask for anything in return.
That's right.
Let them give to you.
That's right.
Man, that, Renee, was a godsend opportunity, a godsend message of like, okay, I need to accept this generosity, understand how I could channel this generosity in the best way, because people do want to help.
Yeah.
You were someone similar as well. You reached out to me
Yeah.
and you said, hey, you want to check in? And there was an opportunity there too of us possibly working together on something.
Yeah.
But again, it was in the spirit of, we don't know what's going on, but
Yeah.
hey, you just know that there might be something here. And
Never know.
you never know. And I
Yes.
greatly appreciate that of you and so many others that show that role model that as an example and that and are telling me now as well, even this platform as well is in that spirit.
Yeah.
Is that yes, this is called the Future Human Experience with Eric Rodriguez, but at the end of the day, I know it's a platform that I need to use to share with others.
Well, what I love about your focus is exactly the title, the human experience, and that gets lost in our world in so many ways. And I know we're going to talk a lot
Yes,
about
yes,
that,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it gets me excited because it really is the magic of success.
Yeah. So let's get into that, Renee. So you're seeing this future. I mean, you come from the tech sector that has accelerated exponentially, rapidly in the decades that you were there. Now you're supporting these organizations that want to be the next big thing. but we see technologies moving way faster than the human experience or human capability could go.
Yeah.
What is your guidance to these organizations for them to build something that could not only thrive but be sustainable in this world that's constantly changing?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I'm gonna frame it as the problem that I saw when I was at Intel, and also frame it at post Intel with the startups. It's easy to fall in love with technology. It's really easy, especially you and I grew up in the ranks of Silicon Valley, and the next best thing was always around the corner. The problem that I saw, Eric, and I saw this in the transition of telecom, going to things like virtualization. I see this with the smart grid getting digitized with AI. I see this with things like robots as a service. There's a human side on the other piece of the equation, right? So as you're trying to roll out these technologies, are these companies really ready for them?
Mm.
I had a really good conversation, for example, with one of the companies that I advise on the robots as a service, and there's challenges on them being able to go take that into the warehouse. We saw that, for example, in the smart grid space, right? So I remember sitting in a room at Intel. It was a great example of the culture divide. On one side, you had some executives wearing some nice fancy suits, ties, and I'm going to leave the names of the company, but let's just say they were a very highly successful OEM that was used to selling equipment into a substation. For those of you guys on a substation, it's the thing that is deploying the power to your houses and communities.
Yeah.
On the other side of the table was a younger gentleman working for the utility company, and this guy, incredibly bright individual, but short sleeve shirt, spiky hair, tattoos,
Yeah.
and he was running their DevOps, right? He was running all of their high-end IT, and they were talking about moving to virtualization, eventually moving to AI. And the guys in the suits said, "Do you really want to go and have to put the risk of pushing a button and it's going to work?" The guy who was in charge of the utility said, "It's not that I want it to work. I have to make this work. It's the future, but it's going to take change. It's going to take you guys thinking differently and our company thinking differently. And that's the human side."
Yeah. Wow. That reminds me also, Renee, of another experience that we had back in 2015, actually, before we met, 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
We were doing an education program in Oakland. And part of the program was at the end of the year, the students would learn how to use one of the boards that it was developing at that time. But more importantly, I wanted them to articulate what problem that they cared about solving in their community.
Yeah.
And the way they would use the board would be to
Yeah.
go and solve that problem that they cared about.
Yeah.
And so we had some different projects and we're having, and at the end of the year, they would present the solution to not only the community, but we would have Intel executives come in and talk to the students. And so it was a really cool experience, parents, teachers, or what have you, right?
Yeah.
This is a showcase of their work.
Yeah.
One of the projects was this simple little adapter that they would put on the refrigerator, and it would read basically the basic temperature,
Okay.
the humidity, right? And,
Yeah.
and basically alert when the refrigerator was going to go bad.
Yeah.
Something as simple as that. That was version 1, and version 2 was supposed to eventually text you to let you know something's wrong with the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And so I knew why they had done that, because that was the one things I had asked. I said, you always want to pitch the problem that you want to do, but also why this is your lived experience.
Yeah.
So we have this executive come by, and you could see that he's very hesitant to be there. He's kind of been asked by his other team that you have to come and be present here,
For sure.
which is understandable. It's okay, right? I know it's a drive.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, I'm just doing this. And so he goes up to this team and he asks, why did you come up with this? Like, this is a very simple little tool to detect something very simple.
Yeah.
And the student says, well, I've had the same refrigerator for the last 20 years. And if my refrigerator goes bad, it's very expensive for my family to buy new groceries for my brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And it was like a pin drop.
Yeah.
He didn't know what to say. He didn't know how to respond. He pulls me to the side later on that day and he says, I'm so grateful I was here, because I would have never thought about that solution.
Yes.
Right? Because sometimes, because we get so enamored with the technology, we were probably thinking about AI 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think we had just announced we were going to be on one of the latest vehicles, which is all great. It is cool, right?
Yes.
And it brings great financial rewards to that. But sometimes we forget that sometimes the greatest solutions come from the bottom up.
Yeah.
Right. And that was just an aha moment that to this day, now that's the executive, we stay in touch. And he always checks in on saying like, wow, I always remember that one moment.
Yeah.
That just opened up my eyes that yes, if I make technology more accessible, we could create better and more solutions for other industries or other communities to thrive.
Yes.
And I think that has also stuck with me because I never looked at it from that perspective. From a business side,
Yeah.
there is a business side to bringing others along as well.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, and it makes me think of a very fond memory I have. So one of the things I love to do every March timeframe is I'm a judge for the Arizona Science Engineering Fair. And if you want to be humbled, and I mean humbled as an adult on multiple levels, humbled in the brain and humbled in the heart, there'll be a judge for these high school kids. Let me explain for those who aren't familiar with this.
Yes.
Every year, the Arizona Science Engineering Fair is sponsored by the Arizona Science Museum here in downtown
Yeah.
Phoenix. And you get some of the brightest, most amazing kids from high school and junior high and
Yeah.
below, elementary too. But when I was meeting with these high school kids, not only are they unbelievably smart, right? They're coming up with ideas to solve real world
Yeah.
problems on all levels of different sciences, right? So you're talking about biology, agriculture,
Yeah.
astronomy, all of these different, focuses. Here's the humbling part. When I ask as a judge, where did you get this idea? It goes back to your example. It comes from the most humblest of beginnings where they say, well, I was in a grocery store with my parents and we saw this problem, right? In this case, the person was talking about avian flu and how prices of chicken were going up. Another case, and this is where it really it's hard to listen to these
Yeah.
stories. A lot of them
Yeah.
were touched by losing family
Yep.
members to horrible chronic diseases.
Yes.
And so using bioinformatics, using computational bioinformatics together to solve that, Eric, there is nothing more humbling than I get to do. And so when you talk about the human experience, these kids are an incredible example of that.
And I think that's a reminder too, Renee, that your careers, because it's been built in sales, it's a reminder too that that is a long game as well, right? Even
Yes.
though, yes, I know there's quarterly updates, there's quarterly
Yeah.
goals, and you all have all that. That's just cool. But at the end of the day, you know that there's a long game in this, and that long game is taking time to listen, taking time to
Yeah.
create these platforms to bring all these stories along. And we don't get it perfect all the time,
Yeah.
but creating those spaces for them to be, for those stories and those problems to be shared.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you say that too, because I think of it as a long game, which is why I love being part of every March being with these kids
Yeah.
because they're the future. And then I go switch gears and I'm dealing with founders who have been in the business longer than me, right? So I'm working across the spectrum of experience and I get so much out of it, but I also learn so much. This is the thing where I'm humbled on both sides.
That's cool. So Renee, as we wrap up, one of the questions I also have for you is as a parent, we've talked about our kids as well. Your kids are a little bit older than mine. Your kids are about to graduate high school soon, go into college, but you've also seen the entire, not only tech sector, but I would say all these industries evolve over the
Yeah.
last, throughout your whole career.
Yeah.
So what guidance are you giving your children today as they're about to enter what this next generation is welcoming them? How are you preparing the next generation for this, and especially in your children?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Well, first of all, I think we're in a fascinating time period right now where, things like generative AI have really taken hold especially in the professional world. Um, I would give the same advice to the younger generation that I'd give to professionals in the AI space. AI is an incredible tool, but it's going to require that human spirit for judgment.
Mm.
There is no way, and we've seen this in the news. I'll leave them unnamed. Some very high level consultants caught
Yes.
using it, and they say the data means if the data is incorrect, it's hallucinating generative AI. So they're using something that's not correct. It's going to require judgment. It's going to require judgment in terms of not just the data accuracy, but morality and ethics.
Yeah.
And the challenge with AI is it's only good as the people are behind it.
Mm.
And so I would say the same thing to the young generation as I would to the current generation. You've got to bring your own context.
Mm.
You've got to bring your own expertise. Don't use it to be something you're not. That's the key.
Love it.
Because I am never going to use AI to be a doctor. That's not going to happen. Will I use it to go help me be effective in helping with AI solutions or helping to, in the energy sector or telco sector? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I'm bringing something to the table that I already know.
Got it.
And I think that's the key,
So
right?
it becomes an extension of the
Yes.
processes, not a replacement of it.
Use it as a thank you. You paraphrase it perfectly. Use it as an extension where you can bring your own judgment, morality, and ethics to the bear.
That is cool. Well, Rene, it's been a pleasure, our conversation together
Likewise.
today. One of the things we love to do with our guests is we ask them to bring a surprise question. I'm excited. We've known each other for years, worked in different capacities together. Rene Torres, what would you have for me today?
Okay. And I think I know some of the answer to this, Eric, but I'd love to ask you.
Sure.
You and I both grew up as Hispanics in the community here in Arizona, but you also grew up in Ecuador. And we also have a fondness for how technology can do things for good. So, what would be your ideal dream to be able to use technology with the Hispanic community to do the most good possible?
Wow. Wow. Um, I think the opportunity we have is to tell our stories a little bit more. I think right now, like just not too long ago, it was announced that Bad Bunny is going to be in the Super Bowl, and it was interesting to see kind of the responses for it. Like some of us were like, "This is the coolest thing ever," because of the cultural relevancy that he has had even before the announcement
Yep.
was made. Right? Like it was just to know that experience was, I think, something cool. That I think technology today is bringing some of those stories to life, but also the division, unfortunately, to life.
Yeah.
And so I think even now, as we're having this conversation, as we wrap up Hispanic Heritage Month, I think that is an opportunity too that we have is that today, I mean, for example, something as simple as following someone on TikTok that's showing some of the history of Ecuador and why we have certain customs versus
Yes.
others, communities. I think that's really cool
Yes.
that probably my kids could one day follow and just learn a little bit more about. So I think technology could create more empathetic future. I do understand too that technology has also created a lot of division. I understand that, but it doesn't mean that we should just stop utilizing. If we focus on what it could do for us, and how we could create a much more human centered future, I think it could be used for good. And I think as Latinos, elevating each other's stories, elevating the successes, elevating the challenges as well,
Mhm.
I think is important. Yesterday, I attended a book launch of a friend of mine, Lorenzo Sierra. And it was just great to see all the love that he got online. And a lot of people found out about his book launch simply because he decided to share that this was coming.
Yeah, and I'm gonna check it out after this,
Yes,
but
it's a
it's up to
fantastic
you.
book. Yeah. And it's a fantastic story. And again, it was thanks to technology that people found out about it. But
Yeah.
more importantly, thanks to that, we all went to go and support him.
Yes.
Right. And we had a human experience together. And so we realized that that's the premium experience. And so any 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 ways that we could use these tools to extend our cultural experiences, extend our cultural awareness, extend empathy, I think that's the way that we could go.
That's great, and I think you and I are on the same page.
So, well, Rene Torres, how could people stay connected with you, stay in
So,
touch with you with the work that you're doing? Please let us know.
just reach out on LinkedIn. I'm always excited to meet someone new.
Awesome. And we'll have those links in our show notes as well. Rene Torres, thank you so much for being part of the Future Human Experience.
Eric, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I'm inspired to hear that these conversations are resonating within our communities, our organizations, our companies, and our households all around the world. If you found this conversation to be valuable, please take the time to like, subscribe, and share it with someone else. I do believe that as the future gets much more digitized, it gives us an opportunity to be much more human as well. And these conversations are part of that journey. So if you're enjoying the content on this channel, please check out these videos. Thank you.